The city was wrapped in a restless fog that night. Rain slid down the cracked pavement like cold veins. Sirens wailed in the distance, but not for me. My phone rang at exactly 10:32 p.m. Unknown number, no name, no sound. I pressed the phone against my ear. At first, just breathing. Slow. Calm. Then a whisper, broken and hollow. "She's gone. And you're next." The line went dead. I should have ignored it. But when a detective spends years walking through the rot of the city, your gut starts talking louder than your mind. And tonight, my gut screamed, this wasn't random. Suzanne Simpson had been missing for less than 24 hours. Her disappearance was already too clean, too perfect. I arrived at the crime scene, an abandoned playground on the south side. The swings creaked under the wind. A single shoe lay in the mud, still warm. No footprints, no struggle, just silence that smelled like fear. Sana Malik, the prime suspect, was already there. She leaned against the rusted fence, calm like the storm around her didn't matter. Her eyes followed me as if she knew something I didn't. "Detective Aryan Khan," she greeted, her voice soft but sharp. "You're late." "You sound disappointed," I said, stepping closer. "Oh, I'm not," she whispered. "I just thought they'd send someone smarter." She walked away before I could reply, not scared, not worried, just sure of herself. That was my first red flag. Inspector Zoya joined me near the swing set, pulling her gloves tight. "She's enjoying this," Zoya muttered, "like she wants us to chase her." "Or," I said, scanning the playground, "she's not the one we should be chasing." Then came Rehan Shah, Suzanne's brother. Eyes bloodshot, hands clenched. His voice cracked with something deeper than grief. Guilt, maybe. "I already told you everything," he insisted. "No, Rehan," I said coldly. "You told me what you wanted me to hear." For a moment his mask slipped, fear flickered in his eyes, and in that flicker, I saw a secret. My phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. This time, a voice, distorted, almost mechanical. "Walk away, detective, or you'll vanish just like her." The line cut. No trace, no ID, just the echo of my own breath. As the rain thickened, I stared at the darkness swallowing the playground. This wasn't a kidnapping. This was a game. And I had just made my first move. The night had chosen its prey, and for some reason, it had whispered my name. The rain hadn't stopped. It was the kind of night that felt endless. Every drop of water echoing through the empty streets like a ticking clock. Somewhere out there, Suzanne Simpson had vanished, and the city seemed to hold its breath with her. I tightened the collar of my coat as I moved through the narrow alley behind 5th Street. The brick walls were wet and cold, graffiti bleeding under the rain. Streetlights flickered like dying stars. I wasn't here on a hunch. The anonymous call had left me coordinates, whispered like a curse. Sana Malik was waiting. She stood under the broken lamp, her leather jacket soaked, strands of hair sticking to her sharp cheekbones. Her arms were crossed, eyes calm, like she'd been expecting me for hours. There was something unnerving about her, like she was playing a part in a script only she knew. "You really came," she said softly, smirking. "You left me coordinates. I follow leads," I replied. "And sometimes," she whispered, "leads follow you." Her words crawled under my skin. She took a slow step closer, close enough that I could smell the wet asphalt on her clothes. "You want to find Suzanne?" she asked. "Then you need to start looking where she shouldn't have been." "Where's that?" "Ask her brother," she said coldly. "He's not as innocent as he pretends." Before I could say another word, she slipped into the darkness. No footsteps, no shadow. Gone. The moment she disappeared, the alley felt heavier, like the walls were closing in. My instinct screamed to leave, but I stayed. I always stayed. Minutes later, I found Rehan Shah standing at the end of the street, hands shoved into his jacket pockets, shivering though it wasn't just from the cold. His eyes avoided mine. Again. "Why were you here, Rehan?" I asked, stepping toward him. "I could ask you the same," he muttered. "I'm not the one hiding something," I said. His jaw clenched. I could hear the storm inside him before he spoke. "Suzanne. She had secrets. She wasn't the girl you think she was." "Then tell me who she was," I demanded. "I can't," he whispered, "because if I do, they'll come for me too." Before I could push further, my phone buzzed again. Same number. Unknown caller. I answered. This time there was no whisper. Just a recording. Suzanne's voice, crying, desperate. "Please. Don't." I didn't tell him anything, I swear, I didn't. Then a door slammed in the background. Footsteps. A man's low laugh. Then silence. My throat tightened. My fingers curled around the phone. "Where is she?" I shouted into the void. No response. The call ended. Rehan's face went pale as snow. You got a call?" he stammered. "Yes, and you're going to tell me what you know right now." But before he could speak, a distant noise cut through the night, the sharp snap of something metallic. I spun around. On the far end of the alley, something gleamed. Inspector Zoya stepped out of the darkness, her gun drawn, eyes fierce. "I followed you," she said. "I had a bad feeling about this." "Good," I muttered, "because it's getting worse." She crouched, picking up a small silver locket lying in the mud. Inside, a picture of Suzanne, smiling. On the back, one word carved with a razor: run. For the first time, Zoya's face shifted. "This isn't just a kidnapping," she said. "No," I replied, my voice low. "This is a warning." A sudden crash echoed from behind the dumpster. Zoya raised her weapon. I took a step forward, flashlight cutting through the rain. The dumpster's lid slowly creaked open. Inside, nothing, just darkness. Then my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't audio. It was a photo. A chair, a dark room, Suzanne's shoe tied to the leg. Zoya cursed under her breath. Rehan stepped back like the ground had vanished beneath him. "They're watching us," I said slowly. "Right now." The street light above flickered, then died, plunging us into blackness. And in the darkness I heard the same voice from the first call. Not through the phone. Behind me. "Detective," it whispered. "Your turn." The night swallowed every sound, except the voice behind me. And that's when I realized the hunter had just become the prey. The city felt alive in its own twisted way. Rain had stopped, but the street still glistened as if soaked in secrets. Every alley whispered fragments of Suzanne's last steps, fragments I was piecing together like a puzzle with too many missing pieces. I walked with Zoya and Rehan through a back street near the docks. Every shadow felt heavier tonight. Every sound, the drip of water, the distant hum of traffic, felt like a warning. "We're getting close," Zoya muttered, eyes scanning every doorway. "Close to what?" I asked. "Close to the truth, and to danger," she replied, her tone sharp enough to cut the night. Rehan stayed silent, shoulders hunched. I could sense he was holding something back, a secret, something that could change everything. "Talk, Rehan," I said. "If you're hiding something, it's time to spill." He shook his head. "I can't. Not yet. If they know I told you, they'll kill me." "Who?" I pressed. He swallowed hard, then whispered a name so faint I almost missed it. "Zayn Malik." The words hit me like a punch. Zayn Malik. I had heard the name before, in fragments, whispers, something buried in Suzanne's past. Now it had a face, a real presence. And I knew instantly, Zayn Malik wasn't just a part of this case. He was the storm waiting to break. We moved closer to the docks. Shipping containers loomed like silent giants, shadows shifting between them. I could feel eyes on us. Every instinct screamed danger. And then I saw it. a small figure slipping between the containers. "There," I whispered. "Move." Zoya and I pursued, hearts pounding, boots splashing in puddles. The figure vanished into the darkness, leaving behind a single note pinned to a crate with a knife. I unfolded it. "You're too late. Look behind you." I spun around. The alley was empty, but the metallic scrape of footsteps told me otherwise. Suddenly, Rehan cried out, "They've got her!" I looked back to see a shadow drag someone, covered in a dark cloth. My stomach dropped. Suzanne. Alive, but barely. Zoya fired a warning shot. The shadow froze, then bolted deeper into the maze of containers. I ran after, adrenaline pushing every step, but the darkness was a labyrinth. "Stop!" Rehan shouted, grabbing my arm. "You'll never catch them." "Then tell me where she is," I yelled, but Rehan shook his head. Fear was written across his face like an open book. We reached a dead end. The rainwater pooled at our feet. I could feel my chest tighten. And then, the voice, not from a phone this time, not from a shadow. "Detective Khan," it hissed from above, somewhere on a container roof. "You've been chasing shadows, but you've ignored the person right in front of you." My flashlight flickered. And there, just for a second in the light, I saw him. Tall, lean, hoodie-drenched. Zain Malik. And he smiled. "I've been waiting," he said. His eyes glinted with a dangerous calm. "You're almost as clever as Suzanne thought you were." Before I could respond, a sharp sound, glass breaking, echoed behind me. Zoya spun around. The crate where Suzanne had been dragged was empty. Where is she?" I stammered. Zain Malik's laugh echoed off the metal walls. "Look closer, detective. The game has only begun, and if you make one wrong move—" He vanished into the shadows. Rehan fell to his knees. I told you not to chase them," he whispered. I gritted my teeth. The puzzle pieces were finally falling into place, but the more I saw, the more terrifying it became. Someone had orchestrated this perfectly, and they were always one step ahead. I thought I was hunting him, but for the first time, I realized I was the prey, and the next move, only he would decide. The night air was thick with mist, the kind that clings to your clothes and your thoughts. After the encounter at the docks, the city felt smaller, tighter. Like every shadow had eyes, every alley whispered threats. I walked with Zoya and Rehan through the deserted streets. Every step echoed off brick walls, a reminder that someone, somewhere, was following us. "We can't keep running blind," Zoya said, voice low but firm. "We need a plan." "And we need answers," I replied, eyes scanning the dark, starting with Rehan. He flinched, then finally looked at me. "There's something I haven't told you, about Suzanne and Sana." My pulse quickened. Every time Rehan spoke about Sana Malik, a new thread of danger unraveled. "She's not just a suspect," he confessed. "She was helping Suzanne, sometimes. Sometimes she wasn't." "What does that mean?" I demanded. "It means she knows more than she admits, and right now, she's in more danger than we are." I had no time to process. A sudden movement caught my eye. Across the street, a car idled in the shadows. Headlights off, engine running. Too still to be coincidence. "Stay behind me," I whispered to Zoya. We approached, boots silent on wet pavement. The passenger door clicked open. A figure slipped out, tall, careful, silent. My flashlight caught a glimpse of a familiar face. Sana Malik. "You're late," she said, voice icy, dripping tension. "We need answers," I said. "Now." She looked at Rehan. "And you, little brother, you lied to him." "I didn't lie," Rehan yelled. I just didn't tell everything." Sana's lips curled into a faint, sharp smile. "Exactly." Her eyes darted to a nearby alley, then back at me. "They're watching, always watching. You think Zain Malik is your enemy? You have no idea." Before I could ask, a scream echoed from the street behind us. Zoya ran ahead. I followed, gun drawn. At the corner, we found a man collapsed, soaked, shivering, a pool of blood spreading beneath him. On his chest, a note. "Stop now, or she dies." I recognized the handwriting immediately. It was Suzanne's. "She left this?" Zoya whispered, eyes wide. "Yes," I said, stomach tightening, and she meant every word. And the city felt suffocating. Every street corner, every shadow seemed to tighten around us. We were stepping into a trap, but whose? And how many pieces were already in place before we even knew the game had started? Suddenly, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Detective Khan," a voice hissed, familiar and venomous. "You think you're close? You're only touching the edges. Look deeper, or lose her forever." The line went dead. "It's Zine," I muttered, running a hand over my face. "He's testing us." Rehan gulped. "He's more than testing. He's planning, and he's already inside your head." Sana stepped closer, whispering urgently, "We need to move. Now, before he decides who dies first." As we turned to leave, a shadow dropped from above, landing with a thud just feet from us. The figure moved with terrifying speed. Zoya fired her gun, but the attacker vanished into the darkness. I froze. My flashlight flickered. Then I saw it. A small device, blinking red, attached to a nearby wall. A camera. Someone had been watching our every move. "They've been here the whole time," Zoya whispered. "They knew we'd come." I swallowed hard. The truth hit me like a fist. Nothing we did had been private. Every step, every word, every breath had been observed. And Zayn Malik wasn't just hunting Suzanne. He was hunting us. The rain began again, heavier this time, and in the distance, a car engine roared to life, headlights cutting through the mist. I turned toward it. Too late. A figure stepped out, hood drawn, face unseen. The same calm, measured walk I'd seen before. "Detective Khan," a voice called. "Your choices are running out." And then, the figure vanished into the night. The city was silent again, but the shadows had names and one of them was waiting to strike. And I knew. The next move would change everything. The docks smelled of salt and decay, the perfect hideout for someone who wanted to disappear. My hands were still wet from the rain, but adrenaline kept my blood warm. Every instinct screamed danger. Every shadow felt alive. Rehan stayed close, silent, his guilt heavier than ever. Zoya scanned the horizon, gun ready, eyes sharp like a hawk. And I was piecing together the fragments of a puzzle that seemed impossible. "We should split," Zoya whispered. "Two sides of the dock, cover more ground." "No," I said firmly. "Not now. We stay together." Something in my gut told me splitting up would be a mistake, and gut feelings in my line of work rarely lie. We moved slowly through the shipping containers, every step measured. Then I saw it, a faint glow from behind a stack of crates. I motioned Zoya and Rehan to follow. A low moan echoed. And then, a figure huddled, chained to a metal post. Suzanne, alive, barely. "Detective, Arian," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I don't have much time." I rushed forward, checking her chains. Zoya and Rehan flanked me. "Who did this?" I asked. "Zayn. He wants control," Suzanne gasped. "Over me. Over everything I know." Her eyes darted to Rehan. "And he's already inside your mind," she whispered. "He's watching every move." I froze. Then realization hit me. The pieces weren't just scattered. They were part of a game he was orchestrating. Suddenly, the sound of a zip line slicing the air made us spin. Above the containers, a shadowy figure moved with impossible speed. Zayn Malik. He landing soft, controlled. His face was finally clear in the dim light, calm, calculating, terrifying. "Detective Khan," he said, voice low but sharp. "You've been very thorough. But thoroughness can be dangerous. For her. For you. I stepped forward. What do you want, Zane? Control. Power. Secrets, he said, a smirk playing across his lips. And now, you're part of the story. Before I could react, a metal latch clicked. Chains rattled. Another figure emerged from the shadows. Sana Malik. Her eyes were wild, desperate. Aryan, he's lying to you, she yelled. He's manipulating everyone. You don't understand. Zane's smirk widened. Ah, Sana, always interfering, but nice try. Your little secrets, your little lies, they make this game far more interesting. I glanced at Rehan. His hands trembled. His guilt was about to become lethal. I didn't tell you everything, he muttered. Because I thought I was protecting her. Protecting her from what? I demanded. From him, Rehan yelled. From Zayn Malik. He's not just a criminal. He's everywhere. I stared at Zayn, and in that instant, it clicked. The calls, the photos, the traps. Zayn Malik had orchestrated this entire disappearance, this entire chaos, as a way to control information only Suzanne had. Suzanne shivered. If he gets what he wants, people die. Everyone we care about. He doesn't play games. He destroys them. The wind picked up. Metal creaked. And then Zayn stepped back into the shadows, disappearing into the labyrinth of containers as silently as he had arrived. Suzanne's chains were flimsy. I pulled her free. Relief surged, but it was short-lived. Another phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered immediately. Detective Khan, a distorted voice said. You think you've won? The real game has just begun. The line cut. Zoya looked at me, her jaw tight. He's still out there. And he knows everything, I said. My voice was hard. My mind raced. Every move we make, every step, every word. He's already planning the next trap. Rain began again. Suzanne leaned on me, exhausted. Rehan trembled, guilt consuming him. And in the distance, I heard it. The faint hum of a vehicle engine, approaching fast, headlights off, cutting through the mist like a predator hunting prey. The game was far from over. We had found her, but the shadow controlling the pieces was still one step ahead. And the question that haunted me, who would move first and who would die next? The warehouse was silent, but the silence was suffocating. Every shadow seemed alive, every echo a warning. Suzanne clung to me, soaked and exhausted, her eyes wide with fear and trust. Zoya stood at my side, alert, every muscle ready. Rehan trembled behind us, guilt and terror battling within him. We have to end this tonight, I said, my voice low but firm. And what? Suzanne whispered. He's everywhere. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. The final call. Unknown number. I answered immediately. Detective Khan, said a voice, calm, commanding, chilling. You've played your part perfectly. Now witness the truth. I froze. That voice. It wasn't Zayn. Who is this? I demanded.
The one who orchestrated everything you've seen, the voice said. I am the reason she vanished. The reason you are all here. I felt the air tighten around me. Every instinct screamed danger. Show yourself, Zoya demanded, weapon raised. In time, the voice said, and the line went dead. Suddenly a figure stepped out from behind the shadows. Hood drawn, face hidden. My pulse raced. But then,
the hood fell. The unknown caller was none other than Rehan Shah himself. What? I whispered. Rehan's eyes glinted with a mix of regret and steel. I had to protect her, he said. But Zayn, he forced my hand. He knew I'd never survive if I didn't follow his orders. So I created the game, made the calls, planted the clues, to keep you busy while I tried to save her. Suzanne stared at him, betrayal and relief mixing on her face. Rehan, why? She whispered. Because I had no choice, he said. Every move I made, it was to keep her alive. But I can't do it alone anymore. Before I could process, A noise above. Zayn Malik. He descended from the catwalk, landing perfectly, calm, smiling. "Well done, detective," he said. "You've unraveled half of my plan, but the final move belongs to me." "Not if I stop you," I growled. Zayn lunged, fast, calculated. I blocked, feeling the force of his aggression. Every second was a fight for control, every move measured. Suzanne screamed and I glanced at her. She wasn't just a victim anymore. She had a resolve I hadn't seen before. In that split second, she grabbed a chain from the floor and swung it with all her strength, hitting Zayn in the chest. He staggered, giving me the opening. Zoya tackled him, gun trained. Zayn fought back, strong, but the combined effort of all three of us pushed him back against the wall. "It's over," I said, panting. "Not yet," Zayn hissed. "You think you've seen the end? You're wrong." Suddenly alarms blared from the warehouse. Sprinklers activated. Red lights flashed. Somewhere an automated voice echoed, "Evacuate immediately. Hazardous materials detected." Rehan stepped forward, taking a deep breath. I made the last move. I planted the explosives. I had no choice. Zayn's plan. It was bigger than anyone imagined. I had to end it. "Rehan, no!" Suzanne cried. "It's the only way," he said, tears streaming. I glanced at Zayn, his smirk faltering as he realized his game was collapsing. "Detective Khan, this isn't over," he spat. Before he could react, the warehouse shook violently. Fire and smoke erupted. I grabbed Suzanne, pulling her to safety. Zoya and I guided her out, the explosion behind us lighting the night sky. Rehan didn't make it out. Outside, soaked, breathing heavy, I looked back at the burning structure. Everything was over, and yet nothing felt resolved. Then my phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. I answered, voice trembling. "Who is this?" A distorted voice whispered, calm, deliberate. "You think you've won, detective, but the game is never truly over." The line went dead. I glanced at Suzanne. She clutched my arm, eyes wide. "Is it really over?" I didn't answer. Somewhere in the dark city, shadows shifted, secrets waited. The game was never really over. We had survived the night, but in a city built on secrets, survival doesn't mean victory. And somewhere, the shadows were already planning the next move.